Hi guys, my name is Jennifer and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. I'm here today to share my experience, strength, and hope with you that someone may hear my message and realize they are worth it and get the help that they need. You can't do this alone. It's a we program, okay? So if you have any reservations or you think that you got this, you don't. And I say this because I thought I had it, and obviously I didn't. I was born to two alcoholic drug addicts. Unfortunately, my father passed back in '08 to this disease. My mother is still alive, and by the grace of God, she is sober. She got sober a little after I got sober, and my sober date is 3/16/12. I have a sponsor, and she has a sponsor, and she has a sponsor, and I have sponsee sisters, and that's how we do this. I am not a first-time winner. This is like my second or third time. Actually, this is my second major. All the other times were like half-assed, like, oh, I'm never going to drink again, or I'm not going to do any more coke, and it will last a couple hours, a couple days, you know. So, my parents got divorced when I was really young, and my grandmother took custody of me. Her and my father had joint custody, and she was afraid that something would happen to me, so she didn't want me living with my father. We lived next door to each other, and until the day my father lost the house, he was so embarrassing. I would tiptoe down the driveway so he wouldn't hear me at night. And no matter how quiet I was and how drunk he was, he always heard me. And whoop, there goes the shade, and something came out of his mouth. And it was embarrassing. I didn't bring people back to my house. Mainly because my house was very depressing. I lived with my grandparents, and if it wasn't for my grandmother, I don't know what I would have done. But at the same time, like, this isn't a place where you brought people. You know, my grandfather was just miserable. He mentally, emotionally, and verbally abused us, my grandmother and myself, my whole life. You know, at a very young age, I heard, you're fat, you're ugly, and you'll be nothing. You'll be a two-bit whore like your mother. That's all I heard. When you tell someone something like that over and over again, you get a complex. And, you know, I really thought what he said was true. And even if I didn't, just hearing it over and over and over again, you know, it still sticks in my head, you know, how many years later. I went to Catholic school, and I was the perfect child of dysfunction and alcoholism. I was a people pleaser from the get-go. You know, I always wanted you to acknowledge me. I I always wanted to be the center of attention, but without the spotlight. Like, I wanted you to acknowledge me, but I didn't want to be number one. It's weird. I did every activity I could. I was in the choir. I was on the student council, yearbook staff. What was it? Not latchkey, but where the crossing, the kids that were the crossing guards. I can't think of the name, but I was that. I was in every club that I could. I went to Catholic school, and I was in a very small class. And it's funny because the Catholic school that I went to is now my home group. So I was thinking about it the other night while I was there. It's like, this is where my shenanigans began, and this is where my shenanigans ended. You know, at the time when I was forced by motor vehicle to go to meetings, I wasn't driving, and I only had Saturday and Sunday to go because I was working and I was going to school. So I would go, it's right down the street from my house. So yeah, so my grade school is my home group, and I think it's very, like, symbolic to have it that way. So I started smoking cigarettes first, and then I started smoking pot, and then the alcohol. And I will argue with anyone who says that pot is the gateway drug. Pot is not the gateway drug, okay? I would smoke, I would get high, I would get the munchies, and I would eat, and then I would go to sleep. That's it. When you put alcohol in me, no holds bar, okay? Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, and you couldn't tell me anything. I was the most arrogant, stubborn drunk there was. You told me I wasn't drunk, and I argued with you. I could be so pissed drunk. I could be in a blackout, still telling you that I wasn't. So high school really ended. Oh, I even played softball. I was an all-star catcher for many years. Oh, and those were the good days. I even played freshman year, but then after freshman year, it was all over, because drugs and alcohol was what I was looking for, and I think it was because of all the abuse I endured when I was a child. I only mentioned, physical, emotional, no, not physical, emotional, mental, and verbal. I was never physically abused, but I was sexually abused, I was sexually abused for a few years, and I never talked about it. Like, I'm just starting to really open up about who, but I never talked about it until I heard one of my brothers at our Christmas Eve Alcathon. He mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, I'm not alone. It's another reason why I love going to meetings, is I am not alone. You are not alone. You're not unique, okay? We all think we are, and we're not. And when you realize you're not alone, that's the greatest feeling in the world, because someone else, there's a lot of people that share your pain, So, high school, I was physically there. Mentally, I was at a party. Mentally, I was getting messed up. Mentally, I was drunk, and I was drunk a lot. And I thought it was really cool when they told me I smelled like a brewery. At the time, I thought I had arrived. It was the social lubricant. As outgoing as I am, because of all the abuse, I was very quiet, and alcohol would open me up. Alcohol helped me do a lot of things that I wouldn't do when I was sober. And one of them is I was very promiscuous. I guess I suffered from the abandonment issues, and I had that daddy syndrome or whatnot. Like, my dad wasn't around; he was a drunk. So, like, if anybody gave me the slightest bit of attention, I was sleeping with them, girls and guys. It didn't matter if you looked my way, and gotta say, since I put the alcohol down, I am not like that anymore, and I'm glad. Like, I look back and I'm like, holy crap, and I used to be very ashamed and embarrassed of my past, and I would wish that I could go back and change it all. And I realized that, everything that I encountered, everything I endured, everything I went through made me who I am today. If I didn't go through all that shit, I don't know who I would be, So I gone through a lot. So high school came and went. My biggest goals, some people are thinking about their careers, they're thinking about their SATs, they're thinking about scholarships to college. Not this girl. This girl was thinking, where's the next party? I escaped and I numbed myself for over 20 years. I didn't like myself. I wanted to die. On the outside, I looked like this happy little girl, and on the inside, I was just dying, growing up in a poor family with alcoholic parents who are divorced, makes a child feel different. I'm like an outcast. To this day, I kind of resent two-family households. I resent happy couples. It's because of that, and I'm working on it. Luckily, I acknowledge it now and I work on it. I learned in therapy the 3 C's: catch it, check it, change it. And, I catch my feeling or whatever, I check it and I change it. I try to. Let's see. My goals in high school. That's what we were talking about. My goals. I just wanted to get fucked up all the time. And my junior prom, I was I was only smoking pot and I was drinking. Senior prom, I was tripping on acid. And then my high school graduation, I was so piss drunk. I don't even remember. I had to look at pictures. Another time when they said I smelled like a brewery. So those were my goals. I achieved my goals. I was successful. And that's how I looked at things. Like, are you kidding me? Like, if only I knew now. Only if I knew, if what I know now, I knew then, things would be different. But then again, I'd be a different person. So I graduated high school. I tried the college thing, but guys, I didn't want to live. I wanted to get fucked up all the time. I wanted to die at 30. I wanted to party up until 30 and then die. I didn't want to live. I did not. I didn't have any goals. I didn't dream about anything. I never thought of being in love and having a family. That's just something that, like, I thought other people had. I should have had my first DUI at 17, but for some reason, the town police believed my absurd story of swerving not to hit a cat. And I went up this lawn and I took out these hedges. Yeah, the cops believed me, and it's like, why? So instead of getting my first DUI at 17, I got my first DUI at 19. And at the time, I got the DUI and I thought my life was over, and I wasn't liking life. So I'm like, what can I do to change my life? I always knew about AA, but I did not acknowledge I had a problem. I knew I had a problem, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. So I'm like, let me go into the Army. Why not? I'm not going to school. I don't like life. The Army is going to help me. Now, if you're a certain height, you have to be a certain weight. And I've always been a big girl, and it took me a little while to get to the weight requirements. So in the meantime, while I was trying to get into the Army, I was still hanging out with my friends, still drinking. I wasn't doing any hardcore drugs, because drinking is acceptable in the Army. And I didn't have a problem, even though I had a DUI. So I finally get my date to ship off, so we have a going away party for me. And it was me and my best friend, and like always, I was the better drunk driver. And I wasn't even drunk, I was really buzzed. But I remember it, and I got caught in a speed trap. And there goes DUI number 2. Now, the Army was still going to take me as long as I completed all of my requirements, or all the consequences that follow DUIs. Now, for anyone who doesn't have a DUI, you not only lose your license, you get to pay fines and court fees. You get to pay a surcharge of $3,000, $1,000 a year. Your insurance goes up probably. You have to go to IDRC. Depending on if it's your first or if it's multiple, then you go to 16 weeks of counseling, which you have to pay for out of pocket. You get community service, and now you get to get the breathalyzer. And I know this because I got another DUI. So I could still go in the Army, and that's what I planned on doing. But again, like, if out of sight, out of mind, and if it doesn't happen right away, then I'm like, oh, so I kind of lost interest. And I was partying, and this guy that I had a crush on when I was younger just got out of jail. And he was hot, bald, tattoos, my type of guy. Now, you'd think a normal person would see that as red flags, and they would stay away from the guy. Nope, Jen goes right for the guy because he's hot, and obviously he knows how to party, and I'm gonna just have a fun time. So, we get together, and I believe I got pregnant on the first day. Yep. So 9 months later, pops out my baby who saved my life. She didn't even know she saved my life, and I've told her, because she's now almost 17, and I told her how she saved my life. Freaking, if I wasn't pregnant, my ship-off date was 9/11. Yeah, let's just digest that one. So instead of me being overseas for 9/11, I was on my back porch watching the towers go up in smoke. And that was the first time. So now while I was pregnant, I did not drink at all. I was very good. I was like the only 9 months I didn't drink. I smoked cigarettes occasionally, and I took a couple hits off of a blunt. But that was it. Okay? 9 months, I was good. You think that would have stopped me. You think having a newborn would stop me. No, it didn't. The fact is, my sperm donor got locked up within a month of me having my daughter. I had to go back to work full time. I had to take care of her. Luckily, I had support from my family and his family. If not, I don't know where I would be. So then I would come home and I would drink myself to sleep because I justified it that I have to take care of my newborn daughter and I'm stressed out and I'm aggravated. So what else am I going to do? I'm going to drink. Full-blown alky right after she was born. We started smoking crack right away. I loved crack cocaine. Oh, drug of choice. When I was 22, my sperm donor had a friend over, and he was known to dabble in like major drugs, and he had heroin, and I wanted it. You know, I want what you have. I want to get fucked up. And when I drank, whenever I put something into my body, I did it to excess. I wasn't drinking just for whatever. I drank to get drunk. I smoked crack to get fucked up. I wanted to be obliviated. I didn't want to feel. I wanted to numb myself. So I insisted that they give it to me. This is what they tell me. And next thing I know, I'm waking up in the hospital the next day. According to others, because I don't know, I overdosed. My sperm donor was here, and I'm here. And I was choking and gargling, and he didn't hear me. His brother was on the first floor, heard me gurgle, ran up the stairs, busted the door open, and called 911 and saved my life. It's the first time a higher power... No, not the first. One of the times my higher power that I could acknowledge now that I realized that he saved my life. So now I didn't touch heroin for another 10 years. Okay, I'm not going to touch heroin because heroin is what almost killed me. That didn't stop me, though. I still continued to smoke crack and drink, and we got evicted shortly after that, and we moved around, and we left the state of New Jersey only to come back because he was on parole still. Those were the most chaotic 7 years of my life when I was with him. We come back, and he gets locked up because he decided to try to rob my landlord. Again, I'm alone. I hate myself. I'm working. I just can't catch a break. I'm just miserable, and I'm sick and tired, and I'm drinking, and I'm doing coke, and I'm smoking crack, and I don't know. You do it because it's just so easier to stay fucked up at that point. And after a little while, it got too much, and I wanted to die. And I remember I tried strangling myself. And what did I do? I woke up, and there's my daughter, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I don't know when, in respect to that time, that I call my boss. Was it the next day or whatnot? But my boss, that's another thing. So I went back to school because, you know, that's what I do stuff when things go wrong. And I do positive things. So I went to school to become a medical assistant, and I got a job through a friend, and this friend is the one who brought me to detox back in 2005. She's like, come on, let's go, you know, and we went, and I signed myself in, and I was there for a week, and I thought I was cured. I thought I was fine, you know, so I get out, and I continue to work, and It worked for a few years, but I don't remember the time. I think I was a miserable dry drunk. This was March of '05, and April, May, June, July. 4 months later, 3 months later, my grandfather dies. 4 months later, my brother commits suicide. 7/10/05, my brother took his life, and I had to stay sober. I stayed sober because I had to take care of my mother, who was now spiraling down because she lost her baby. So I couldn't. I could have if I really wanted to, but I didn't take advantage of the situation. I took care of my mom and my daughter and everybody else, and I was good for a few years. And then one day I was hanging out with a friend, and I guess because I didn't have a program, I forgot about the first two DUIs. I forgot about the overdose. I forgot about the dry heaves. I forgot about pissing on myself. I forgot about winding up in horrible places. I forgot about winding up next to people I don't know. And I drank again. I was at a club and I had a fishbowl, and it was the best. And my disease came back full force, okay? Like, they say our addiction is like when you're playing a radio and you have it on full blast, all right? And you unplug it and there's nothing. You plug it back in and it's full blast. That's our disease. And yes, I say it's a disease. I don't care. You could argue with me. It's a disease. But we're not going to argue. So, this was in '08, '09. I can say that, I gave the last 4 or 5 years to my grandmother. Fortunately, I was sober, so she saw me and she was proud of me and my rock. But shortly after I relapsed, my rock died. My grandmother died on my 29th birthday, and my world shattered. She was my go-to. Every time I had a problem, who saved me? Mom. Mom was there for everything, and God rest her soul. And, she did the best that she could with the knowledge that she had, I miss her. And, it's been a struggle since she's died because I really have to take care of myself. I have a lot of support with my daughter and everything, and I do have a lot of wonderful people in my life and that will help me. But overall, like, my rock was gone. At the time, my mom, she was incapable of helping me, and over the years since my mom sobered up, we've gotten closer. We don't have that mother-daughter lovey-dovey relationship, and I don't think we're going to, just because of all the things that have happened. But I do love her, and I'm so proud of her, and I'm so happy to have a mom, and I'm so happy that her and my daughter have a wonderful relationship. My daughter has had the best part of my mother. My brother and I didn't have that. I go to another fellowship, ACOA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics, and up until a few years ago, I blamed my parents. Even when I realized it was a disease, I still blamed them. But now I take the blame off of them. They did the best that they could. Okay. So after my grandmother dies, one day I get a phone call, and it's this guy that I really cared about, and we were best friends growing up, and friends with benefits and friends again and whatever. But we lost contact once I was with my daughter's father. He got married, had 2 girls, and I didn't get married, thank God. And I had my daughter. And 10 years later, he calls me, and oh my God, I got butterflies. Still thinking about it to this day, I got butterflies. I was so excited, and I'm like, wow, finally I get a chance to be happy. Finally, God is good. God's paying me back for all the trouble. Meanwhile, I didn't like God this whole time. God made me poor. God took my parents and made them alcoholics. I thought God failed me, but he didn't, okay? And I'm not going to go on. That's how I felt. for a long time. And I do realize now that because of God, that's why I'm here, and I am who I am because of him. So anyways, David comes back into my life, and you know, it wasn't like this magical relationship, because we both have problems. I'm an alcoholic, and he was a pillhead at the time, and we were sniffing the pills together. But the pills got expensive. They were like $30, $40 a piece, and you didn't even get high off of them. So, well, after a while, you know, because I'm the breadwinner and he wasn't working, he was such a good guy, though, you know. So I had asked him, I said, listen, we got to stop it with the pills. You know, it's too expensive. My nose is burning, and he's like, okay. But little did I know that when he said he was going to stop doing the pills, he picked up the heroin. And so, like, when he would get high, I would drink. And that was our relationship. I wish I could say there was more. We had some good times, but we didn't even have a lot of time together, because a year after we got back together, like a year and a half, a year, whatever, he overdosed and died on my bathroom floor. Yeah. Worst day ever. Like, I can't say it's the worst day of my life, because my grandmother, that was like the worst day of my life. But you got this guy who was the love of my life, and I thought that we were going to, start a family together and be together, and gone. Just like that. So, the year after his death, I really spiraled down. Like, here we go again, I hated life, I hated everything. And he died September 30th, 2010, and by August 2011, I had gotten my third DUI, and it was so pathetic. We had just had a wonderful day. My daughter was in a pageant, and the National American Miss pageant. We had such a great day. I just had surgery a couple days before that on my arm, and we had spent the whole day in New Brunswick, East Brunswick, wherever. You guys don't even care. You're watching me from wherever. And so we had a great day, and I come home, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine. That's it. Well, I told you, it's the gateway. And it makes me do stupid things. So I'm having these glasses of wine, and then I see on Facebook something about these grease trucks. And I don't know, grease truck sandwiches were really good when you were drunk. So I got it in my head that I now have to go to New Brunswick, which is 20 minutes away, in the middle of the night to go get myself a fat bitch. And the fat bitch, I forget exactly what it was, but it was like cheesesteak and mozzarella sticks, french fries, all this stuff on one sandwich. It was great. But, so I got the sandwich, and I suffer from like ulcers and gastritis, and as soon as I ate the sandwich, I started throwing up. So my thing was just to get home. I had tunnel vision. I wanted to go home. I felt like shit. I just wanted to go home. But little did I know, I passed the cop on my way home while I was speeding. So what do you think the cop does? The cop pulls me over. The cop pulls me over. There you go. There's my third DUI. Fortunately for me, there was 10 years between my second and my third. So my third DUI is on my record as my second, which is really good because I lost my license for 2 years versus 10. Breathalyzer 6 months versus 2 years, and but still I got a third DUI. Like, I look back at it and I was so freaking stupid. Like, I see MADD now, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I'm so disgusted with myself. I see kids who have died as a result of drunk driving, and I'm like, I can't believe that was me. Like, I'm so glad I didn't hurt myself or my daughter or anybody else. Can't beat myself up from the past. I can't. It's over. It's done with. I just got to make sure that I continue living the right way now. So I get my third DUI. And what do? Something bad happens. Here we go. Also, I needed a concrete plan because my grandmother wasn't around anymore, and now I needed to, maintain my grandparents' house and whatever. So I go back to school to become a nurse. I'm going to school. I'm going to AA. Did I go to AA yet? Yes, I was going to AA. Now, this whole time I was drinking, I did not touch any crack cocaine or heroin this whole time while I relapsed. It was only alcohol. But towards the end of my run, I let a girl move in, a friend of mine. She was actually my brother's old girlfriend, and, I love her. It's beautiful, beautiful girl. She had a beautiful son, has a beautiful son, and they needed help. So I'm like, all right. And, like, I've watched her spiral down. And I'm like, listen, you could come and live here as long as you don't bring anything in my house. And everything was fine the first couple of weeks. And then little by little, she's like, Jen, I got a surprise. And I'm like, ooh, what? And she's like, ooh. And she had an 8-ball. And I'm like, oh, my God. Next thing I know, I'm in my basement smoking crack until like 3 o'clock in the morning. Ugh, the dirtiest feeling ever. Dirtiest. Ugh. So from that point on, for the next 3 weeks, I did whatever I could get my hands on. And I'm so surprised I didn't catch a habit. Like, I did heroin every day for 3 weeks. And one day I woke up, 3:15, 12 was a horrible, horrible day. I don't remember it. I was in a blackout, but I did a bunch of drugs and I drank a lot. I woke up the next day and I haven't touched it since. And I know AA had a lot to do with it, because once you get AA in your brain, or NA or OA or SA or GA or any A in your brain, you can't get messed up the same way anymore. So I started going to meetings and I started really paying attention, and it was the best thing I ever did, So I was going to my meetings. I started service work right away. As soon as my 90 days came up, I started speaking, because they say in order to keep what you have to give it away. So I talk about it whenever I can. My life is really good now. I still go through a lot of shit. The last 6.5 years haven't been the easiest. A year and a half into my sobriety, while I was still going to nursing school, I decided to drive to a meeting, because stubborn me, I gotta do what I want when I want, and other people drive without a license, so why can't I? Yeah. Driving on the suspension following multiple DUIs is a 6-month sentence in the county's finest, Club 130, as I like to call it. Yeah, no matter what, you're there. And I spent my 3rd sober anniversary on a bunk in the dorm in Middlesex County Adult Correction Facility. I went away for 178 days and my life fell apart. I cried every day. It was horrible, but I made the best of it. I got a job, I got into a program, and, I stayed active. I was like the mother hen in the jail, and I met a lot of women that I'm still friends with today. A lot of them are successful. A lot of them are past, and some of them are still out there. And it's a sad world. I found God in jail. My faith was strengthened. My relationship with God changed, and it was really good. I got out, and my friend, he came, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." He's like, "All right, let's go." And I was on a commitment the next day. And the fellowship, the people I've met, like, I have some really awesome, amazing friends. Some of my friends are better than my family members. They've been through thick and thin with me, and I love AA. I say any A to save your A. That's what you need. You need to get hooked up. You need to have a program. And listen, the fellowship may not be for you. There are other ways to get clean and sober. There's also Smart Recovery. And I volunteer for an organization that down south called CFC, Coming Full Circle, and they are based on Smart Recovery, and Smart Recovery deals with cognitive behavioral therapy and changing your way of thinking, and it's great, but I can't really get with it because I'm more AA, and it's just the way things are, so, but listen, if it gets you clean and sober, like I said, whatever it takes. Listen, I got faith. Life after drugs and alcohol is pretty damn amazing. I can sit with myself. The last 2 years, I've really worked on myself. You know, a lot of therapy, a lot of self-help. I'm reading all these different books and stuff, and I'm really trying to heal the little Jenny who was abused at a young age. She's lost inside, and she's slowly healing. I can say I finally loved myself when I was 37, which was last year. I finally looked in the mirror and I liked what I saw. I try to reassure myself with positive affirmations. I'm always talking like positive. You know, people are always like, oh, how can you be so positive? Well, you have to. Freaking a negative gets a negative, positive gets a positive. As corny as it sounds, it's the truth. And, you know, if I want to be successful, I can't think negatively, you know. I have a wonderful relationship with my 16-year-old daughter. She she was starting to go down my path, and she made a good decision the beginning of this year, and she put herself into this program called Job Corps, where she's going to get her GED in a trade, and it's structured, and it's keeping her focused, and it's the best thing for her. I can't give her the structure she needs. As good as I am, you know, she needs more. I started my own business last year. I have a cleaning business, which is thriving. Like a year later, and I'm still in the weeds, I'm still in debt, but I'm slowly climbing out, and it's mine, my business. Who would have thought? You know, I always wanted to have a business, but I never thought I would. I never thought I'd accomplish anything. I have so much self-doubt and fear, but I'm working through it. I have a routine that I do every day. I wake up and I have an 2 AA books, an Al-Anon book, an ACOA book, 2A, and a codependency book, and I read the daily meditations. I even have Facebook. I have a page called Jenny's Journey. It's a closed group, and you know, I share bits and pieces of my life and positive affirmations, and I try to be positive. Like, there's freaking hope, guys. I've lost so many people to this disease. Like, heroin overdoses is just, it's insane. Like, I do whatever I can, you know. Oh, I did graduate nursing school, but I'm not a nurse. I have a cleaning business. You know, you're never too old to change what you want to do. And do I want to have a cleaning business for the rest of my life? No. I want a deli and a restaurant, and I want to start an organization for young, unwed, single moms. Like, there's so much I want to do, and the only way I can do it as long as I stay away from drugs and alcohol. As long as I don't pick up, I can be and do whatever I want. I'm always lending a hand. If somebody needs help, they know. And I'm not anonymous. I keep other people anonymous. I am the poster child for recovery. Like, anybody who knows me knows I'm in recovery, and I'll be the first one to talk about it. And I talk about it because once you start talking about it, people are like, oh wow, I'm not alone. And then they open up. You know, today I'm doing this. It is September 9th, and today is the start of Suicide Prevention Week. And, you know, they're talking about mental illness, and they're talking about if you just open up and, you know, once people realize they're not alone, it makes it a lot easier. That's all you got to do, you know. My brother's birthday's coming up, and, you know, it's going to be a tough time around here. But I can't live depressed and miserable. You know, I grieve, and I'm grieving more now, you know, because I'm feeling more of these emotions. The longer you stay sober, the more emotions you feel, and it really does suck at times because it's like a roller coaster of emotions, but it's what you have to do. And I had a therapist who used to tell me, like, until you address the trauma in your past, you can't move forward. Until you stop, you know, take care of those issues, you can't put yourself into healthy relationships. And right now, I'm in the process of fixing myself. So until I fix myself, I can't put myself into a relationship, you know. But I'm not even looking at that. My main focus is to stay sober. my main focus is to be there for my daughter. My main focus is to break the cycle, you know. I want alcoholism to be done in this family. Like, you know, I want my daughter to not struggle as much. But life is good, and it's all because of the fellowship and because I put the stuff down, guys. Like, life is so worth it. It's not easy. It's not. But it is so freaking worth it. You are worth it. Everybody's worth it. So if you're struggling, or you know somebody who's struggling, reach out. You know, find me. Listen, I told you I'm not anonymous. Jen Sturak. Find me on Facebook. Message me. Request to join Jenny's Journey on Facebook. It's a closed group, you know. The only way we're going to stop the stigma is to talk about it, you know. And I use my pain to try to help other people. That's my purpose. God's purpose for me is to help others. And that's what I'm going to do. So, there you go. I hope you guys got something out of this. I know I did. And I'm glad I finally got it done. And yeah, this is Jenny's Journey Take 2, because I do have another testimony, which was done 2 years ago. So I figured I'd have to update it since, you know, a lot of things happen in 2 years. Also, okay, I'm glad I didn't stop it. So, you guys, you got to, you got to go to a meeting. You got to raise your hand. You got to say you're new. You got to make the connections. Okay, a lot of us, when we see new people, we come over to you, but not all the meetings are like that. And if it's like that at a meeting, you don't want to go to that meeting. There's many, many meetings. Find them. Find the one that suits you. Okay, get active. Get a home group. Get a sponsor. Do 90 meetings in 90 days. Okay, stick with the winners. Okay, stick with the winners, and you will succeed. Okay, I'm telling you, if I can do it, you can do it. Listen, I didn't want to get sober. I wanted to stay fucked up until I died, but God had other plans, and I'm happy now. I don't want to die. I'm looking forward to the second part of my life. I'm like at my healthiest. I'm 38, and I just love life. And if you guys gave yourself a chance, you would too. And with that, if nobody told you, I love you, find me on Facebook, Jenny's Journey. All right, guys, have a great day, and yeah, thanks for listening. Okay.